Hi everybody, I'm here on a familiar little set because today I felt like tracing a background. It's probably the second laziest thing I've done this year, right behind not complete my taxes, but we're not gonna worry about that. Let me ask you something, do you ever feel like you're trapped in an endless cycle? Do you wake up every morning struggling to even remember what day of the week it is? Are you happy with yourself? I'm gonna let you think on that. In the meantime, let's talk about Blue's Clues. We all know what time is, a concept that can be more horrifying than death itself. The process of things being able to be things in a flow of ordeals. At a base level, it makes comprehensible sense, but as we move on, I get a bit upset thinking about it. It is as much as a danger as it is a necessity, because if we don't have it, or we have too much, then what do we do with it? Time as a resource will then have no purpose, and therefore nothing can have a purpose. It's a perfect paradox. There cannot be life without time, and time has no value without life. It's not the quantity of the time that's the concern, it's how that quantity is utilized, valuing existence, making the most of this unknown resource we all possess. Now, Blue's Clues is about a dog who leaves little paw prints all over her house as we figure out her daily mystery. There's Mr. Salt, Miss Pepper, Slippery Soap, Tickety Tock, Mailbox, and who can forget about Side Table Drawer, the sentient side table drawer. What a lineup, let me tell ya. Blue's Clues is pretty well known and a simple premise. Blue has some clues. We gotta find them using a handy dandy notebook and figure out what Blue's trying to do. Instead of simply making a sandwich, she makes everyone in the house go on a 30-minute scavenger hunt so they can see the dog make a sandwich. This went on for over 200 episodes and has decades of content. And at the center of it all, we have the ever iconic Steve. He's patient, a leader, and most importantly, a friend to all others, even Side Table. Now, Blue's Clues takes place in Storybook World, which is, get this, a storybook world, in which Steve lives in a small town with a bunch of other humans burdened with magic critters of their own, like Blue's Echo Fighter Magenta, Periwinkle the cat, and this kangaroo that I genuinely forgot existed, like full-on Mandela effect, no recollection of this little freak. But overall, it was a simple and simply pleasant time. Steve and Blue continued their adventures across the years, new adventures, making fun out of the mundane, and every time, Steve, being the blind buffoon he is, was able to get help from the people at home watching him. I think this is the weirdest part to me. The ratings are canon. Steve could quite literally see the other side. He looked into the fourth wall and it stared back at him. Eventually, despite his pleasant endeavor, his gentle wisdom, and extreme tolerance for Blue's paw print standing bullshit, he eventually made his personal realization that it was time for him to move on to a new chapter, see more of the world, and make something of himself. So he gets his brother, Joe, to do the Blue's Clues burden. And you can tell they're related because just like Steve, Joe can't find a paw print for his life, even though Blue has 4 of them. I haven't gone outside in 4 days. I don't have too many memories of Joe. He was a bit more energized, more fun. It seemed like he was trying harder to stay as an icon. Otherwise, all I know is that he wears squares, he is a square, and you know, he has a different energy. And nothing wrong with that, it's just a different font retelling the same story. It may feel a bit different, but it doesn't matter, because I'm more interested in watching Mr. Salt and Miss Pepper start a nuclear family of a bunch of different spices. They're happily married, and I'm happy for them. But just as before, Joe would fall victim to the undefeatable void known as aging. And as everything else remained the same, the humans would have to surrender their positions in this seemingly perfect society located in a book and find themselves back in the real world, where they would remain local celebrities because literally everybody knows about the stupid dog with nub ears. I know this is a cartoon and all, but these look less like ears and more like alien nubs. I'm convinced this is at least some sort of unearthly entity that burrowed its way into the greater society of the world, normalizing itself. Now, this was back in 2006. This is when the original run ended. Steve and Joe spent 10 years watching over Blue, and other than the lifelong friends they made, such as a plastic shovel and a bar of soap, they got nothing. And the soap has trauma for the rest of its days. That thing should never know what it is. It should not be alive. But the hosts, do they have parents? Do they gain any sort of financial deliverance for their grievances? I mean, they had to give a dog glasses and take the ever iconic character Green Puppy to the dentist. There had to be some sort of incentive. Also, what do we do about the international adaptations? You know, when Blue escaped the country and decided to make her paw prints an international international affair. Now we got Kevin, the UK guy, Duarte, the Portuguese host, and Hyun Sub-shin, the South Korean lead. Why is Storybook World replicated and spoken in multiple countries? Is this the same town, or are there duplicates? What do we do if nobody's in the town? What sort of obligation are these characters supposed to withhold in their little old realms? All we know is that the mailbox gets called postbox in the European version, and that's disgusting. Don't do that, Kevin. Stop being British or even British adjacent. But truthfully, what do I say about these versions? Why would I watch them when I got Steve right here? He hops and jumps around like a whimsical medieval forest creature. He does the jingle. It means something. This is Steve's world, and we're all living in it. Or Joe's world, or Kevin, I don't care, I'm moving on. When 2006 struck and the show was put to sleep, we were left in an odd spot in the story. For years, we wouldn't see any sort of movement in the traditional light, and Blue started getting greedy with power. And so would begin the next show of Blue's Room, this being a puppet story following the dog and her new collection of freaks as they do generic baby stuff. I'll give Blue props for a malevolent reality warping entity responsible for physically and mentally tormenting half a dozen men with nothing but green shirts and khakis in their wardrobe. She sure knows how to make a puppet show! But then again, Blue's not all too capable of running her own show as a host. She thrives on torment, and knowing that none of the non-human creatures were capable of getting older beyond a set level, she waited, and waited, and waited. And then a new victim arrived. This is Josh, the newest host of Blue's Clues, starting his career as the man of the house back in 2019. He did about the same, the main difference being that instead of wearing green sweaters with khakis, he actually wore blue shirts and jeans. Wow. There is so little to share about Blue's Clues and News compared to the original run. It's about the same, but not really. For example, instead of mailbox, we have email. I don't like that. There was probably an episode where Green Puppy got rabies and maybe got put down, or he got replaced, because now we have Rainbow Puppy. I guess Blue did a mitosis, made another one. This time it's bipedal and can speak. This means that there is an objective superiority as a recognized living creature, and I don't like how Magenta and Rainbow Puppy are treated differently. It feels wrong. Despite Blue's Clues getting its start all the way back in 1996, and even though Blue's been alive for over 25 years at this point, she still has to pursue an elementary level education at Storybook World. Why does this look like a FNAF World model? Why are we subjecting children to being in classrooms with these abominations? Are they being punished? Is this a reward for the children? I know damn well that's not the case. It's sick and twisted. Truly the root of all evil. Like who is this for? Why would you make off-brand Cocomelon? I don't even like the original run. I don't... Icky, ew. Looking at Josh a bit more, I think he stands out as the most unique host, roaming as this beacon of optimism and hope. He's also a theater kid. You can tell. And that especially comes to light when you look at the movies. Ignoring the original musical in the original run, I refuse to talk about it. I just didn't even watch it. I'm gonna be so honest, didn't care for it. The Blue's Clues musical insists upon itself. And honestly, I'd rather watch the off-brand Cocomelon that looks like the NASCAR Gopher cartoons. In this movie, Rainbow Puppy's holding Broadway auditions for a musical she's doing. And even though it's open auditions, she's openly wasting everybody else's time because she specifically wants Josh to lead, despite having a blank resume. Rainbow Puppy, you're a good friend and all. You should take career priority. You should, I know you're trying to be a nice friend, but this is your source of income. You should really think about that. I'm gonna spoil all the movie right now. I'm not gonna put a timestamp though, because nobody cares. It's Blue's Clues the movie. It was a good watch though, but I wanna move on so I can complain about the things that worry me. Essentially, Josh goes to New York, forgets his handy dandy notebook. That's a phone. I also don't like that. This bothers me more than it should. Steve and Joe are here. This is Spider-Man No Way Home, but good. There's a dance party ending that ruins the entire musical. Rainbow Puppy spent countless hours preparing. Also, Magenta appears despite not being in the movie the entire time. Okay, plot time done. What the hell do Josh and Blue do to New York? First off, New York being a nice place is always a red flag. To be fair, they only walk through the safest parts of the city, plus everyone likes Blue's Clues, so they would instantly take a bullet for the whimsical duo, even though realistically every person would go, holy shit, Blue Clue real life, and try to steal the dog. Blue would not last a day in Chicago. Not to mention, they seem to be creating life by pure accident over half a dozen things they encountered, coming to life to everyone's horrors, from mail to a used coffee cup, even a thing full of mustard. I know damn well that little mustard felt the horrors of having its insides poured out. It should not deserve that. Why would you burden this creature with the opportunity of life? It was rigged from the start. What this tells me is either Josh or Blue hold the ability to create life, and this just piles from all the things we gotta worry about here. Thanks to the international books in the intro and stuff, we can assume that these are separate books. So are there multiple Blues? Is this a multicultural cultural crisis of maintaining the book world, or else the magic's gonna seep onto everything else, as we see with Rainbow Puppy and the magic in the movie? Are these the same story world or different portals to the same place? Are they taking shifts between 2006 to 2019? Were there more hosts that we never saw? Aging only belongs to the humans. Storybook world seems to be an exclusive domain to these lucky and few individuals. It's unknown who maintains the home, but it's assumed to be a family burden as such. After all, Josh is cousins with Steve and Joe. What are the known consequences of living with a purple kangaroo? What horrors can come from all these creatures being alive? We see that Josh feels legitimate empathy for an intimate trash collector in Salt Shaker, so who isn't to say that they would take charge and fought for the same level of comfort as the humans? I can only imagine the unfathomable horrors that would rise if, God forbid, the condiments unionized. I look into this realm and realize that despite everything, Blue is still a puppy. Blue has re-entered school, befriended so many green sweater wearing men, watches the children of Salt and Pepper grow up, watches as Magenta gets proper eye care, and even Side Table remaining a side table. Blue is unfazed. Time is nothing more than an inconvenience. When it all comes to rot away, when Steve leaves, Joe, Kevin, Duarte, Juan Subshin, does it matter? What changes? What do we have when we run out of hosts? Is this to appease? Are they lambs to a slaughter? Some sort of service to protect the greater populace? It's unknown and horrifying. I mean, look at the area surrounding you and consider just for a moment how many of those things could come to life and make it your problem. Do they eat or sleep or any of that? How do we determine who has to enter and halt the bombardment of hellish creatures roaming within Blue's freaking clues and storybook world? And most of all, how do I sign up? You're telling me I can become a celebrity and potentially a hero for living in Blue's Clues house and finding those pesky little clues? I get all these benefits for appeasing the Dark Doggy Lord while I also teach valuable lessons to the youngsters at home? That sounds great. I mean, magic consequences or not, I see no problem. Steve or Joe came out all right as a detective and a business owner respectively. Josh has experience acting on Broadway. This seems like a net win. I mean, sure, the dog is a skinwalker, potentially an alien that manipulates all those surrounding it, and the pillow on my new bed would probably be alive and breathe, but it's worth it. I hope the secret society who picks people for this job are listening, because fellas, I could do a rock solid job, I would say. Hell, I could even make Green Puppy relevant again. New character mascot. Bring him back as the icon. Green Puppy's Mysteries. That's my new show. It'll be great. We'll do it together. Well, I think I found a new career path. And would you look at that? Oh my goodness, that's Mr. Mailbox. He's making a legally distinct cameo. This might be them inviting me to the Storybook World Initiative right now. I knew I was the perfect candidate to talk to a plastic bucket. Well, fellas, we're all fans here. Let's sing the song together. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's... Oh.